Motivation is gone, and that scares you more than failure. Because without it, you're left alone with a question you don't want to answer. Will I still show up? Most people won't. They confuse motivation with commitment. They confuse energy with identity. So when the fire disappears, their progress disappears with it. At night, when no one is watching, when the noise fades, you feel it. The heaviness, the resistance, the lack of desire. And you start negotiating. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I need rest. Maybe this isn't the right time. That's not exhaustion talking. That's avoidance wearing a calm voice. This is where most people stop. Not because they can't continue, but because they believe they shouldn't. They were taught the lie that progress should feel aligned, that if you don't feel motivated, you should wait. And waiting kills more potential than failure ever will. Motivation is emotional. Consistency is structural. One collapses under pressure. The other survives silence. The reason most people fail is not lack of talent, not lack of information. It's emotional dependence. They only work when they feel like it. They only push when they're inspired. They only commit when confidence is high. That's not discipline. That's indulgence. Real discipline begins when motivation is absent. That's the line. When there's no excitement, no clarity, no emotional reward, just a task and a choice. Most people believe consistency means intensity. It doesn't. Consistency means obedience to a standard you set when you were thinking clearly and following it, even when you don't agree with it anymore. Especially then, because feelings are unreliable. They shift. They distort reality. They exaggerate discomfort. If you let feelings decide your actions, your life will remain unstable. Strong people don't feel motivated more often. They feel less. They don't ask how they feel. They ask what needs to be done. That's the difference. Motivation feels powerful, but it's fragile. Discipline feels empty, but it's permanent. And permanence wins. You don't need motivation to act. You need structure that ignores emotion. That's why routines exist. Not to inspire you, to remove decision-making. Because every decision drains energy. And when energy is low, emotion takes control. So the goal is not to feel ready. The goal is to reduce friction between intention and action. When motivation is zero, identity must take over. Identity says, this is who I am. This is what I do. Regardless. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Calmly. Consistency with zero motivation is not heroic. It's mechanical. You move because it's scheduled. You execute because it's expected. You finish because quitting isn't an option you consider. That's how progress compounds. Most people burn out because they rely on intensity. They push hard when motivated, then disappear when it fades. That cycle destroys trust with yourself. You start seeing yourself as unreliable. And once self-trust is gone, everything becomes harder. Discipline restores that trust. One action at a time. Not impressive actions. Predictable ones. When you show up without motivation, you send a message to your nervous system. I don't need emotion to function. That's power. Because the world is not designed to keep you inspired. It's designed to test endurance. And endurance is built in the absence of excitement, pain without drama, effort without applause, consistency without feeling strong. That's the training. You don't need to enjoy the process. You need to respect it. Respect looks like showing up, even when the mind complains. Respect looks like finishing, even when the reward feels distant. Respect looks like silence. No announcements, no validation, just action. When motivation disappears, most people look for a reason to stop. Disciplined people look for a reason to continue. Not emotionally. Logically, they understand that progress is delayed. That today's effort won't feel meaningful tonight, but it will matter later. So they act on principle, not impulse. Here's the truth you need to accept. If you wait to feel motivated, you'll always be behind. Because motivation follows action. It doesn't lead it. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates momentum. Reverse the order, and you stay stuck. Consistency with zero motivation is not about forcing yourself. It's about removing negotiation. No inner debate. No emotional analysis. Just execution. You brush your teeth without motivation. You show up to obligations without inspiration. Apply the same logic to your goals. Stop treating your future as optional, because every time you skip a day due to feelings, you teach yourself that discipline is conditional, and conditional discipline collapses. The strongest version of you is not the one who feels unstoppable. It's the one who moves forward while feeling nothing. No excitement, no confidence, no desire, just commitment. That version of you outlasts everyone, and over time, something shifts. Not suddenly, not dramatically. You start trusting yourself again. You stop needing motivation because you've built something stronger. Reliability. When you know you'll act, regardless of mood, fear loses its grip. Doubt quiets down because your actions no longer depend on internal weather. That's stability. That's maturity. That's discipline. So tonight, if motivation is gone, don't panic. Don't search for inspiration. Don't consume more content. Just do the smallest required action. And stop. Not to feel better. To stay aligned. Consistency is not about doing more. It's about missing fewer days. And those quiet days, when you move without motivation, are the days that separate you. Others wait. You act. Others feel. You execute. Others stop. You continue. No emotion. No noise. Just progress.